and we're having to save in our minds, we're having to save and prepare longer to buy our first home. So we kind of have that mindset. And tell me if I'm wrong, is we say, well, we don't buy a home, we rent until we're married or we're married with children. And now we have the need for a more than a 2-bedroom apartment. And those are the kind of the triggering points to buying a home. But what I'm hearing you say is, and you've said the last couple of weeks, is it's really a wealth generation procedure, like that whole compounding interest thing. The sooner you start, the more it adds up. Do we see that same thing happen with housing?
Right. And see, that's the thing, is that the way, I mean, it's pretty shocking when you hear about that. The average first-time homebuyer is now 40. So they're taking this extended period of time to prepare themselves to own a home. I think it has to be flipped. In other words, that 40-year-old who is the first-time homebuyer probably spent years and years and years renting, right? And maybe they rented early on when they first got out of school and they're young with a roommate or two, and then eventually they got their own apartment, but they're still waiting and trying to save money and all this. I would say flip that whole process on upside down. And again, when you first start looking at having housing of your own, don't dismiss buying. Yeah, you may not be in a position to do it by yourself, but again, if you have a trusted friend or friends, talk to them and have some discussion about, is there some mutual objectives that this kind of strategy would work for all of them, and then set their mind into doing it. Because the thing about being a renter, and we've talked about this before, it's uncertain, because in most cases, most renters will tell you they're dealing with a rent increase, if not every year, every couple of years. So you don't know what your housing expense is going to be in the future. And when you're making, again, I already said it, when you're making that payment, you're doing nothing to build wealth, because it's just money going to the landlord and helping him build wealth, or her. So as a consequence, those first few years where you haven't bought a home yet, get that out of your head, get a friend or two, look to buy. And then maybe by the time you're 40, maybe at that point, you're going to then have moved up to where you own the home on your own and the friends are gone. You've already sold that early property and you all split up the proceeds and went your merry way. But in the meantime, you built some wealth that you could use to apply to the next transaction.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things you talk about is when you do this, you lock in your housing costs. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's the thing. Compared to rent, which can go up often, if not every year, often, when you get a mortgage, and in most cases, again, the core product is a 30-year fixed. Remember what we've told our viewers before. Warren Buffett says the 30-year loan is the greatest loan there ever was. It's a one-sided bet. It locks in your worst case. When you get that loan, whether it's 3 7/8 for 5 years, or you get a standard FHA loan, 30-year fixed at 5 3/8, you have certainty. You know what your payment is. You know what your rate is. It's not going to change. That's incredibly important, because it locks in your housing expense, your shelter expense, and then the added benefit of that monthly payment fixed. You're not going to see it go up if it's a 30-year fix. Then the other benefit is it's paying down your balance, creating that additional equity beyond that's going to occur just from the home appreciating in the market.